Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're essentially opening up a fascinating curiosity cabinet of ideas. We are taking you on a wild ride from local campus legends all the way to literal dinosaur hunters. We're going to look really closely at the vibrant, diverse, and sometimes, well, wonderfully strange intellectual life of the University of Chicago community, drawing directly from some recent pieces in their own magazine.
Okay, so let's just dive right into this incredibly eclectic agenda. We're going to kick things off with campus life and legends, move into rethinking society and discourse, check out pop culture and focus, explore student research and impact, discuss leadership and public service, and finally, wrap up with the cryptozoologist professor. Starting right at the top with Section 1, Campus Life and Legends. We're looking at how a community adapts during a crisis, because when the pandemic hit, so did the end of the traditional college experience. But as you'll see, the community found some highly creative workarounds.
Now, what's really interesting here is how the university had to substitute physical fields for digital battlegrounds. They completely transitioned their intramural sports online. When the lockdown started, the director of intramurals took their usual dozen physical sports and just brought them straight into the digital realm. So instead of tackling each other out on the muddy quad, students were virtually battling it out in Super Smash Bros., which actually took the absolute top spot for popularity. And that was followed closely by the timeless strategy of chess and, of course, Scrabble.
And honestly, this next story brilliantly illustrates the lighter side of campus life. Meet Nestor. He was a legendary free-roaming Dutch tabby who brought immense comfort to students before eventually moving back to the Netherlands. This orange streak of lightning belonged to a pair of grad students and became an absolute campus icon. I mean, students would literally wait in line outside the dining commons just to pet him. Because outdoor cats are kind of rare in Chicago, concerned locals kept reporting him. So his owners actually outfitted his GPS collar with a tag assuring everyone he was totally fine. It even included a line that became sort of a mantra for stressed-out students: "I always have access to my home and food." It's just a great reminder that during intense, stressful periods, sometimes the biggest comfort comes from the simplest, smallest things, like a friendly local cat. All right, moving into Section 2, Rethinking Society and Discourse. We're shifting from campus life to see how those foundations translate into the actual battlegrounds of public debate.
This ancient Greek concept, parousia, which means to speak freely and openly, anchors Lila Brahmer's program. It explores neutral frameworks for discussing charged issues, rather than falling into those hyperpartisan either-or debate traps we see all the time. Brahmer, who is the inaugural director of the Parousia program for public discourse, basically noticed that we've completely lost the ability to test ideas together. Instead of setting up a two-sided debate with clear winners and losers, which she argues doesn't actually lead to our best thinking, she uses techniques like having students identify their personal stakes in an argument first. This totally breaks down the walls of defensiveness and invites true open speech. Think about your own heated arguments online, or even at the dinner table. Identifying your personal stakes right out of the gate might just be the key to way better, more productive conversations.
And speaking of shifting perspectives, anthropologist Marshall Solins completely shatters our common sense assumptions here. He argued that hunter-gatherers actually lived affluent lives, just with very different values than our own. Solins pointed out that the standard Western textbook assumption is that people with few possessions must be absolutely miserable, right? Driven by unlimited desires but having extremely limited means. But his research revealed that in many groups, adults only worked 3 to 5 hours a day to meet their needs. They simply didn't have those same bourgeois impulses. Solins really reminds us that anthropology's greatest power is making the familiar strange and the strange familiar.
Okay, Section 3, Pop Culture in Focus. You might think this kind of intense academic rigor is strictly reserved for heavy political subjects or ancient history, but just wait until you see how they handle modern media.
Just look at how linguist Josh Tyra tackled the Breton translation of The Hobbit. He actually invented a brand new word to capture the precise, lofty honorific of an elf friend. Tyra, who is a language nerd in the truest Tolkien mold, helped update an out-of-print translation of The Hobbit into Breton, which is an endangered Celtic language. The original translator had used a phrase that literally just meant a friend of the elves. But Tyra, using his deep linguistic expertise, proposed the much punchier, loftier term elf cariad, which translates closer to elf comrade. So he officially made his own brilliant contribution to the Breton lexicon.
And this level of dedication extended to treating all two-legged peoples in Middle-earth as grammatically human, really honoring the deep linguistic roots of Tolkien's world. You see, Breton is one of the rare languages where humanness is an actual grammatical category.
The original translator had treated heroic elves and hobbits as human, but nasty trolls and goblins as non-human. Well, Tyra consulted an Arabic translation of The Hobbit, because Arabic actually shares this rare grammatical quirk. He found that all rational two-legged creatures should be grammatically human, villains included. How cool is that?
Jumping ahead to the year 2002, filmmaker Judy Hoffman captured a lost, fly-on-the-wall documentary about Britney Spears. It focused deeply on the intense backstage labor of her tour rather than the typical celebrity gossip. Hoffman, a documentary filmmaker who usually works with marginalized communities, was brought in to film the end of Spears' Dream Within a Dream tour in Mexico. They decided on a direct cinema approach, meaning absolutely no sit-down interviews. And Hoffman observed that Spears was just incredibly hardworking, noting that virtually everything the pop star did when she wasn't on stage performing was just grueling labor.
Moving on to Section 4, Student Research and Impact. Leaving the pop icons behind for a second, let's explore how this exact same analytical drive empowers students to tackle major real-world challenges.
This maps out an incredible pivot. When the pandemic halted global travel, student Tyann Dada immediately redirected her planned health research in Haiti to analyze COVID-19 impacts right in local Chicago hospitals. She had originally planned to study preeclampsia internationally, but instead, she looked at COVID-19 diagnoses in Southside Chicago pregnancies, and what she found was startling. A large majority of the patients were entirely asymptomatic and were only discovered by universal screening. Her agile shift in focus perfectly highlights how dedicated analysis is absolutely crucial to fixing healthcare disparities.
Similarly, student Stephanie Ritzig adapted her canceled library exhibition into a highly viewed digital series exploring historical plagues and the history of smallpox inoculation. When the physical Newberry Library closed down, Ritzig didn't just abandon her research. Not at all. She edited a 7-video series for YouTube, creating content like The Perils of Reopening, The Plague in Marseille, 588 CE. Her specific video on early smallpox inoculation garnered thousands of views. Ritzig essentially proved that looking backward at history often provides the exact context we need to process a modern, real-time crisis.
Let's turn to Section 5, Leadership in Public Service. How exactly does the life of the mind translate into the actual halls of Congress?
Well, looking at Congressman Andy Kim, we can objectively see how his foundational studies and diplomatic background forged a really unique philosophy, one centered entirely on the difficult act of listening. Representative Kim actually keeps the exact same copy of Plato's Republic that he studied as an undergrad right there in his Capitol office. But it was his time as a diplomat that taught him his most valuable lesson for Congress. He realized that while a lot of politicians are great at talking, diplomacy requires you to find middle ground through active listening. It's an approach he views as an essential daily civic practice.
Following the January 6th events at the Capitol, a photo went viral of Representative Kim quietly helping building staff clean up debris. As he reflected on the trauma of that day, he noted that people process things differently, and his instinct was simply to start cleaning. It's such a powerful reminder for all of us that you don't always need a grand gesture. Sometimes the best way forward is just doing the small, necessary work right in front of you.
Finally, Section 6, the cryptozoologist professor. For our grand finale, we're going to zoom back into the university to uncover a wildly surprising, almost unbelievable academic pursuit.
Okay, let's dive into this. Tenured biochemist Roy McCall literally risked his esteemed professional reputation by becoming utterly obsessed with tracking down legendary monsters. Now, cryptozoology is a pseudoscience aimed at finding hidden animals. Think Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster. And while many cryptid hunters are just hobbyists, McCall was a serious academic. He had made groundbreaking discoveries in virology, but he felt totally trapped by what he called his cute little scientific problems at the lab bench. He wanted something wilder, something that could entirely consume him.
And his ultimate white whale was the Mokele-Mbembe, a rumored living dinosaur in the Congo Basin that McCall mounted actual real-world expeditions to find. In the early 1980s, McCall traveled all the way to the Congo, searching for this creature which locals described as resembling a brontosaurus. His quest was so famous it actually inspired a villainous character in the 1985 Disney movie Baby's Secret of the Lost Legend. While his credibility among his academic peers plummeted, he became an absolute global star in the niche world of monstrology.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. When does the rigorous pursuit of science end and the deeply human desire to discover the impossible begin? Looking at Roy McCall, we see that even the most disciplined analytical minds can be seduced by the romantic thrill of the unknown. From intramural esports to living dinosaurs, it's pretty clear that human curiosity truly knows no bounds. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating cabinet of ideas with me today. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.